This person was the CTO and Senior Vice President of Innovation at Samsung Electronics. He directed Siri at Apple, was Chief Technologist at Hewlett-Packard, and co-founded a number of startups in Silicon Valley. While conducting research at SRI International, he was involved in the creation of Nuance Communications, now the world leader in speech recognition. He is the best-selling author of the book that I think this talk may be named for, which is There Is No Such Thing as Artificial Intelligence, holds literally dozens of patents, and is recognized as one of the top 100 most influential French developers in the digital world. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Luc Julia, Chief Scientific Officer at Renault Group.
Good evening. Okay, so, you talked a lot about artificial intelligence. I'm going to tell you tonight that it doesn't exist. So it doesn't start very well, right? Actually, the one that doesn't exist is the one that we are talking about for the past, 20 years in the movies. This is the Hollywood artificial intelligence that doesn't exist. So, can start my slides. Here, okay, that's me. That's the title. And first of all, I'm going to try to give you a definition of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence exists for about 70 years now. It started in 1956 when a bunch of very smart guys in the University of Dartmouth in the US decided to call what they were working on, which was just a mathematical model of a brain, basically, of a cell, of a neuron. They call that artificial intelligence. But actually, what they were trying to do, they were trying to say that there are some tools we can build that are going to look intelligent. But, since I'm French and I say that we invented everything, I'm going to say that back in 1642, actually, the French mathematician and philosopher Pascal invented the Pascaline, which was the very first computer, and that didn't make good for us because it allowed us not to do anymore addition and subtractions. So we are trying to do those intelligent machines for a long, long time now. Okay? It's not only for 70 years, or it's not only for 4 months with ChatGPT. What happened, back in the 50s, when we really started to call that artificial intelligence, is that they tried to do something that was actually very, very complicated. They tried to solve not only a basic addition or subtraction, they tried to solve natural language. What is natural language? This is what we are doing right now, right? So there is a guy speaking, there are words, and then you are trying to get the meaning. And the meaning is the most difficult thing that we are still not doing very well, and the machines are still not doing very well. ChatGPT actually is doing a lot of progress in terms of natural language, so it does understand. It says a lot of crap, but it does understand pretty well. But we'll come back to that. So anyway, back in the 60s, they tried to do that, and guess what? They failed. So it means that we had the very first winter of AI. Because when we lie about the stuff that we are doing, we don't get funding anymore. And this is exactly what happened at the time. They lied, they gave too much, they were too optimistic about what they were doing. It didn't work, and no more funding, and no more artificial intelligence. This is exactly what could happen today if we continue to lie about artificial intelligence and what it can do and what it cannot do. So we have to be very, very careful. Artificial intelligence, for the past 70 years is only mathematics. As I said, it started with this modelization of the neuron, but after that, because it, died in the 60s, something else came up. It was another kind of mathematics. It was logics. And it was what we call not machine learning, but it's what we called expert systems. And the expert systems were basically, those very simple rules or logical rules that you were applying. It worked pretty well. For 40 years, 70s, 80s, 90s, it worked pretty well. And the best expert system that we ever had was certainly the one in 1997 that did beat Kasparov at chess. Very impressive, very intelligent. I don't know, maybe it's intelligent to play chess, but I'm not sure yet. But anyway, all that to say that all those things, all those techniques that we have been doing for the past 60, 70 years, they are only mathematics. And back in the 90s, just after the Kasparov was beaten by the machine, by Deep Blue from IBM, the statistical artificial intelligence, the one that we tried to do back in the 60s, came back. And it came back because of something that you know of course, now. It came back because there were a lot of data that came up. And so we were able to do, again, what we call now machine learning, because the internet came in. The internet came in with a lot of data. And at the beginning, we were pretty positive about the internet, and we said, yeah, great, we are going to have the biggest database in the world. It's great, we are going to be able to create all those statistical systems that are going to do a lot of good, interesting things. And we did. So we had machine learning, and then later, deep learning with even more data, big data. Now, I would say with ChatGPT, that is more something like huge data, right? So it's a lot of data. And one of the things that we did at the very beginning, one of the first recognizer that has been made using those data was a recognizer of cats. Why a recognizer of cats? Because there were a lot of cats on the internet. People were basically posting cats, and they were annotating. So it was the best annotated database of cats. So we realized that with only 100,000 images of cats, we were able to recognize cats. Incredible. That's intelligent, right? Totally stupid. 100 images of cats to recognize a cat. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, those machines that we deem intelligent, compare them to us. How many cats do my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, need to recognize cats? 100% of the time. So I asked the psychologists, because I don't know, right? So I asked them, and they told me, 2. Your daughter needs 2 cats to recognize cats forever, all the time, 100% of the time. And the one that I built, that I was very proud of, with 100,000 images of cats, it does recognize cats only at 98%. Why? Because it doesn't recognize cats at night. And you know why? Because nobody posted images of cats at night. So it doesn't exist. So here we are to think, about what we are building. We are building machines that have nothing to do with our brains, that have nothing to do with our intelligence. Another example of that is what happened, a little bit later. Now we are in the 90s, right, 2000 years and so on. So now we are going to jump in 2016. Just a few years ago. 2016, it's yet another machine that is built, and that is this time going to beat the world champion of Go. Wow, that's intelligent, right? Go, that's complicated, right? If you ask mathematicians how many moves you have at Go, they are going to tell you, they are between, 10 of the power of 200 to 10 of the power of 600 moves. So basically, they have no idea. It's a lot. It's infinity for us, right? So it's complicated. So yes, statistics is going to be good there. So let's, put a lot of data in this machine, and let's, make it work. And so with deep learning, we were able to create a machine that did beat the world champion of Go. So I'm not going to go into the algorithm and to explain what are the actual things that were done there, but I'm going to open the machine, actually. So it was called DeepMind, and DeepMind was a very interesting machine. It didn't look like that. It's a drawing. That's my drawing. It's actually more. And when you open it, inside the machine, you have 2,000 CPUs. 2,000 CPUs. You have 300 GPUs. The GPUs are the graphical processing unit. This is what is doing matricial calculation, very good for machine learning. And there is another type of chips that is called TPUs at the time. It was new TPUs, 30 TPUs, new tensor processing unit done by Google. Incredible, very good for TensorFlow, deep learning. Anyway, this thing is 2,500 computers. 2,500 computers to play Go. 440 kilowatts. 440 kilowatts to play Go. And the question is, the little Korean guy, 19-year-old, who was beaten by the machine, what does he have? Do you know how much that is in terms of watts? I mean, for most of us, not everybody, but for most of us, this thing is 20 watts. 440 kilowatts against 20 watts. And the guy with his 20 watts, not only he plays Go, he's pretty good, he's world champion, right? But he talks. That's your language, difficult stuff, right? He cooks. He does a lot of crap, right? The machine that we built, 440 kilowatts, does only play Go. Cannot do anything else. This is as stupid as it can get. Thank you. So, now we understand that those things, artificial intelligence has nothing to do with intelligence. Done. Okay, very good. Now let's move to the meat of this thing, the data. It's all about data, right? I mean, we need a lot. We said, now, ChatGPT, 175 billion of pieces of data. 175 billion of pieces of data. It's basically, the full internet. And we said, remember earlier, that internet was great because, it was the biggest database in the world, blah, blah, blah. It was nice. But now we know that there isn't only true stuff on the internet. You know that, right? You know that, yeah. So, unfortunately, that's true. And you know why? Because, a lot of people are putting whatever they want on this thing. And so, ChatGPT is a reflect of that. We didn't have time to do a study, about how pertinent it is, and how good it is. But actually, because, everybody was excited and a lot of people were saying a lot of bullshit, about it. The University of Hong Kong just released, a month ago, a study about the pertinence of ChatGPT. They took 24 databases of millions of facts, whatever the truth is, right? And they ran ChatGPT on this thing. So on the generic model, ChatGPT, the pertinence of ChatGPT is 64%. So, good, bad? It means that 36% of the time, it says bullshit, okay? So we need to know that before we are all getting all excited about ChatGPT and the other generative AIs. They generate whatever the thing that they are looking at, on the internet or the databases that they are using. Anyway, so this is to talk about my good, stupid ChatGPT thing. I'm going to skip the black box thing. Black box is AI. AI is a black box we cannot understand, so we need to be, afraid of it. Actually, there is nothing to be afraid of. There are some people, who are making those black boxes. They know where they are going. They can make, mistakes in choosing the data. They can make mistakes in choosing the algorithm, but pretty much they know what they are doing. So this is human. Humans are actually building AIs. AIs are not buildings themselves, okay? So we have to be clear about that too. If we are doing something wrong, it's our fault. It's not the fault of AI. Okay, what I want to spend a little bit of time on is autonomous driving. I'm done, okay? Elon Musk, I'm done. 2014, he says, autonomous driving, level 5. There are 5 levels of autonomy, right? So level 5 is the ultimate level. Autonomous driving level 5 is for tomorrow, 2014. 2018, level 5 is now. Yeah, sure. So 23 right now, right? Autonomous driving? Nowhere. Okay? So I have some good urban news, I don't know, but autonomous level 5 will never exist. Never. It's just not possible. I'm going to prove it. I'm just going not to say it. I'm going to prove it. But autonomous level 5 will never exist. Level 4 is going to happen. It will be incredible. It's going to save a lot of lives. And this is going to be, again, very, very good. It's going to look autonomous most of the time, but sometimes it will need the help of a human. Today, to be very clear, where are we? I mean, Tesla, it's 2.7 maybe, right? So the most advanced, they are nearly at 3, but we are still very, very far from 4. I'm not going to do my Elon Musk, and tell you that in 10 years it's going to be 4. So I'm not going to say that, but it's going to happen. I don't know when. Why those autonomous level 5 will never happen? I'm going to give you an example that is a very simple one that is showing that those machines, they are not humans. Us humans, we adapt. Us humans, we invent. Us humans, we create, which is not the case for AIs. Here is the example that is going to allow you to go outside later and to say autonomous level 5 will never exist. Thank you very much. So anyway, I'm a car, and I'm driving, and this is a real video, by the way, from a database from Waymo. Waymo is the company from Google, working on autonomous cars forever, and the CEO of Waymo back in 2018, when Musk was saying all this bullshit, he said, it will never happen. I'm giving away all the samples that I have, 10 million miles of video, in order to train the models, guys. Go ahead, let's go to level 4. So anyway, this video is one of the samples. So we see a car driving in the roads, in the streets of Mountain View. Nothing happens, I don't know if you have been to Mountain View, it's boring. So anyway, the car is driving, and in the middle of nowhere, for no reason, stops. 2-3 seconds, the car starts again and stops. 2-3 seconds, the car starts again and stops. 2-3 seconds, okay, you got it? After 5-6 times, there is a safety driver on these cars, So we see the hands of the safety driver on the wheel, and the car, drives away because behind him, people were getting nervous, right? Why did this car stop like that? Didn't make any sense. Then you watch the video closely, and you see that on the sidewalk, there are 2 guys walking in the same direction of the car, right? Very good. And you look very, very closely, and you see that the guy that is the closest to the street, that is walking in the same direction to the car, on his shoulder, he has a stop sign. You see a guy walking on the side of the street with a stop sign on his shoulder. You don't stop. If you do stop, please come to see me. I need to talk to you. So, what does the car, the very smart car, what does it do? It sees a stop sign, and a stop sign, and a stop sign. You got it. So, you adapt to this incredible situation. It never happens. It will never happen. This is incredible. This is just unbelievable. But you create, you react, you do something about it. The machine learned, actually didn't learn this particular case. The machine is stuck. The machine doesn't know what to do because the machine doesn't create. The machine is fundamentally stupid. Just going to, not to speak about Siri, I'm going to say that AI doesn't exist, but AIs do exist, right? There are a lot of AIs. There isn't this AGI thing, artificial general intelligence. Forget it. It will never reach our intelligence, so we shouldn't even talk about it. But there are plenty of AIs. If I had to give one definition of AI, I would say that the AI is a toolbox. It's a toolbox with a bunch of tools inside. And those tools, they are very diverse. Like in a toolbox, you have a hammer, you have a screwdriver, you have whatever or so, right? And each of them, they are good at whatever they are good at, right? You are not going to take your saw to drive the nail. I mean, this is exactly what it is with AIs. They are going to be very specific and very good tools, incredible tools, that are going to enhance our productivity, that are going to enhance ourselves. And if I sometimes call AI, I use the AI thing, I use AI to say that it's us being augmented by those tools. Our intelligence is augmented by those tools. It's exactly what the woman here was saying just before. I mean, it's going to improve our productivity, our creativity. They are not creating. The good thing about the generative AI is that we didn't call them creative AI. We didn't lie about that part. They just generate stuff. They generate stuff and the creativity is on our laps. We do create in the prompts. I do create when I say something to Midjourney, I say, draw a green cow on top of the Eiffel Tower. I created this image. I have that in my mind, and it just generates something for me that I'm going to be able to, move around and to improve. So that's all I wanted to tell you today. We have 5 minutes of question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Julia. That was a fantastic talk, and I can see hands shooting up in advance of me getting to the stage, so that is a great sign. So if it's okay with you, we'll take a few questions. I think the chap over here, if you want to stand, I don't know where our roving mics are. Oh, there we go. Just the chap that stood up over there, you can kick us off, and feel free to say who you are as well. Oh, no, sorry, they're just over the back. There was the first person. There we go. First come, first served. I'm a fair person. We'll get to you. We've got a little bit of time. Feel free to say who you are and try and keep your questions brief so we can take as many as we can.
Hi, so I'm Rodrigo. I'm a research assistant for Concordia University. My question may be a little bit touchy in here. Basically, what is your opinion about us humans as broken and as much trouble we have communicating between each other or even understanding each other? How do we define our own intelligence? Creating something and hoping for something to be perfect. We've heard about 100 times today about having ChatGPT having hallucinations, but those hallucinations came from people. For God's sake, people still think that the Earth is flat today.
Yeah, I don't know if they think it or if they fake it, but anyway. So it's a good question. The thing is that at one point we are going to need regulation for those AIs because we are not perfect, as you said, and we know that when we build something, sometimes we don't use it the way it's supposed to be used. Take the hammer, that is my favorite tool. The hammer is very good to drive the nail. It's not very good to hit the guy on the head, right? We decided collectively that it wasn't the right way to use it. There are still people using it like that, but this is where regulation is going to happen, and we collectively, once we are educated, because we need to educate ourselves first, not to say, that it doesn't exist, it exists, it won't happen. We need to educate, get the facts, and then once we have the facts, we regulate and we decide collectively. It can be, in the town, it can be the country, it can be the world, depends, but we are going to, at one point, I'm sure that we will be able to regulate and to decide collectively what it is. There is one good example about that is with the atoms, right? What happened in 1903 when Marie Curie, invented or discovered the power of this atomic energy, she didn't know what we could do with it. She knew that it was going to be incredible. There were basically 2 ways to use it. And after a while, in the 60s, we almost blew the planet. And we said, okay, calm down. And the USSR and the USA decided to sign something to stop that. So, I believe in humans, and I believe that at one point, we will, get the thing together.
Do you think it's actually realistic?
Yeah, of course. Look what happened with in the 70s and 80s, with the SALT agreements. So since then, we didn't blow the planet, right? Yeah. Not yet. Yeah.
Thank you for that provocative question. Can we go back to the chap down here who got the microphone sort of taken away from him? Let's see what the question is. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. So to present myself, to introduce myself, so I'm also a research assistant, but at McGill University. So you basically answered my original question about education. We should focus on the education and how people should use this technology as tools, not hallucinate themselves about what they can do. But my question is, following what you said about nuclear power, so nuclear power was developed by state, by government, by US and Soviet Union as state. But artificial intelligence is developed by private companies. How do you enforce these regulation to private companies in order to make good AI, useful AIs in that sense?
Money. The way you enforce. Money. Take it. No, I mean, there's always ways to do it. Look at GDPR, in Europe. I mean, GDPR is, kind of working, and now, it's actually decimating even in the States. You have some in California, you have a version of GDPR. So, I mean, this is the only way you do it. I mean, you decide that if you don't do that, I will take some money from your wallet.
Had lots of optimism today about the clout of regulation. I just hope everyone's right. So we're short on time, but as it's the end of the day, let's take one more. And out of fairness, I'll come to this side of the room, and there's a chap just towards the back there, with a pen in your hand. If you want to stand up so our roving mics can see you. Thank you. And as I say, keep the question brief, but let's squeeze another one in.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very refreshing talk for the end of the day. I do, like you, I tell my clients all the time, the machine is stupid. It only does what you ask it to do. The title of your talk was AI does not exist yet.
Yeah.
You haven't really touched on the yet part.
Yeah, I didn't because, I don't have time. Thank you. So the reality is that, as I said, today AI is only mathematics, right? So with mathematics, I think we are limited because mathematics, we invented them, and we apply that to whatever. There is something new that is called quantum computing, right? Quantum computing is basically physics. Physics is basically biology. Biology is basically our brain. So maybe, with biology, I will be able to create a brain, and if I create a brain, maybe, I can create artificial intelligence. But there is one big issue there, is that today, if you ask the people who know the brain, I don't, but if you ask people who know the brain, they are going to tell you that they know between 20 and 40% of the brain today, right? So we are still very far to be able to imitate something that we don't understand yet. But maybe one day we will understand it, and so maybe one day we'll be able to imitate it. Thank you very much.
Don't write it off. Thank you very much, Dr. Luc. Julia, thank you for a very thought-provoking talk. Hopefully that has given you a lot to go and speak to your new contacts about and noodle on this evening. But that is the end of day one of the summit. But please join us again tomorrow. I hope you will. We have a ton of great headliners. We've got Joël Pineau from Mila and Meta, Dr. Athena Kanura from PepsiCo, Philip Rambach, who we saw briefly today on a panel from Schneider Electric. So do come back, and we'll look forward to seeing you. Have a lovely evening until then.